Welcome back to this episode of Blueprint to Your Health. In this episode, we explore the issue of infertility. In this segment, we go specifically to infertility amongst couples. We're here with Dr. Andrea Carey, obstetrician and gynecologist. Dr. Carey, in what ways does genetics impact fertility amongst men?
We're going to have to get a little nerdy here just to understand. Because genetics defines everything in our body, right? And specifically, it's going to define how the sperm are made. So if there is a problem at a genetic level when the sperm are being coded, it could mean that the sperm may not move well, mean that it may not be able to have the important sac at the top of the sperm that's used to break the shell when it gets to the egg. And there's countless other things that can affect how that sperm moves, acts, and is able to impregnate the lady. So it's important that although we kind of take it for granted, we assume that everybody can get someone pregnant, but there may be people who may not be able to, because on a genetic level, what was coded is not going to be sufficient to be able to do that job. And I think what we need to do is get away from what happens in couples is a blame game. Is that, okay, yeah, we're having a challenge, but it's not that person's fault. This may be on a blueprint genetic level. This had nothing to, it's not a choice at the person. But you may very well get genetic changes with lifestyle choices. Smoking, heavy alcohol use, heavy cocaine use. If you're a gentleman that likes to spend all the time in very hot tubs and saunas, you're going to get some effect on a genetic level, because we are always adapting. And even on a genetic level, even although it's been made already, if the environment is saying, hey, we need you to change in a different way, and that way may not be beneficial to the process of trying to get pregnant. So we have to start really treating our body like the temple that it is, which is to stay away from the harmful substances and start to have a more healthy diet. Stress is a very important issue. It affects our hormones, and hormones are important, even in the gentleman, to ensure that he's able to, his brain will send information through different pathways to say how to make the sperm, how much sperm. Right. So it's very important that we don't just keep focusing on women, because men are having some issues as well. A common thing that something simple as having a varicocele, which someone doesn't pick that. It is an enlarged blood vessel nearby the testicles. That heat can damage the sperm, which is why we treat them. We remove the varicocele so that the gentleman can make cool sperm. So it's very important that we get away from the blame situation and start to be more supportive. Everybody, I think, in our culture wants to have children, and they will do whatever they can in order to do that. But it's important to get a proper evaluation by someone who is trained. I see a lot of ladies and couples actually going to all these herbalists who have conned them into thinking to sharing $30,000-$50,000 for some mix-up thing that they don't even know what's in it. And a few of them, when I've found out the names and got to research it, they were counterproductive. They were not going to help us at all. They were actually going to push us in the opposite direction. So we really have to be, what works for your friend may not work for you. So, and you don't know what was wrong with your friend, because she's not going to give you all her details. So you need to go to a practitioner who's trained in infertility. So certainly going to your gynecologist first. And if we need to bring in the urologist for the male partner, then that's something. If we need a subspecialist like the fertility specialist up at University of the West Indies, then we will know to engage them, because we have evaluated and we see what needs to be done.
Okay. Can you tell us a little more about the polycystic ovarian syndrome?
Why we have this very weird name is that about maybe 3-4 decades ago, we noticed that on ultrasound, we saw a lot of women has all these, what we call follicles, but on ultrasound, we call them cysts, in their ovary. So, and they noticed that lots of these women had hormone problems. They couldn't kind of make out. Anyway, through research over the last couple of decades, we now know what's going on. It's a genetic problem. It can have 3 different presentations. One of the most common is a lady seeing her period very normally, sees it right on time every month, but she's unable to get pregnant because she's not ovulating. Another group is that every couple of weeks they bleed. That's their period, which is abnormal. A period is supposed to last maximum of 8 days. So when you're going 14 days, 21 days, and I've had ladies who've bled for 4 months, and then came to be seen. So you bleed quite significantly, but it does mean that you're not balanced because you're only supposed to bleed a maximum of 8. So the next group is a group where they don't see their period for 6 months to a year. They all have the same condition. It's just manifesting itself differently. And it just means that at the ovarian level, the hormones are not balanced. And so you're getting all these eggs being stuck in the ovary, which is why it gets large and why on ultrasound you see all these cysts. And basically it can be managed. I'm always thrilled when a patient who we've struggled to sort out their PCOS calls me to tell me they're pregnant. Wow. So I actually don't call it a cause of infertility. I call it a cause of subfertility because they're fertile. Right. We just need to sort out the hormone imbalance, right? So that is what I would say about PCOS. It does. There are quite a few women. I think our genetic background, a lot of people do have it. I would say about maybe a third of all the ladies I see have PCOS. And it's either to manage their periods, the problems with their periods, or to get pregnant that we see them. And I'm so pleased when we get it under control.
Can someone's blood type affect them getting pregnant?
A little more nerdy stuff here. Not specifically the type. There's 4 types really. There's A, B, and O. It's not that part of the blood type that could affect pregnancy or fertility. It's really what we call the rhesus factor. If you're plus or negative, right? So you either have this particular protein on your blood cells, which gives you a plus, or you don't have it, which makes you a minus. Okay. It really doesn't affect fertility specifically, but if the result of it can overall affect your ability to have a successful pregnancy. So basically, if you and your spouse were both positive, we wouldn't worry about you. Okay? If you were negative and your spouse was positive and you're having a baby, our concern is that because positivity is dominant, your baby is more likely to be positive as well. So it's not the blood type specifically, it's the rhesus factor. And the first time you get pregnant, even if baby was different and you weren't identified until late, it wouldn't affect that pregnancy. But because your body is to notify itself, hey, I picked up something strange in her blood. And the response your body always makes is, hey, let's make some antibodies. Let's fight this new strange thing. So it's your baby. It has this factor that is not similar to mommy. So antibodies are made. Doesn't affect the first pregnancy. But if it happens again and baby is positive, remembering you're still negative, you'll always be negative, then your antibodies that you made from last time are going to recognize it and start fighting.
So if it happens the first time, if you get pregnant the first time,
fine.
The second time has a less chance.
No, you get pregnant, but the baby's under attack by your blood.
More than the first pregnancy?
You wouldn't have been under attack the first time. Because remember, it's not until it's often in the 3rd trimester that mommy's and baby's blood mixes a little bit. Your body wouldn't have picked it up until very late. in the first pregnancy.
Oh, so the second pregnancy is alert.
It's alert, and and typical immunity response is that it's faster, quicker. So it's going to pick it up earlier, and so it's going to start attacking the blood cells for the baby.
And then what's the worst that could happen?
Oh
Miscarriage?
my gosh, yes. And fetal anemia. Oh yeah, it's a common thing, which is why one of the first things we do when we do blood testing is to find out what blood group mommy is. It's very important.
That's actually the
Right.
first I've
So
heard that.
the problem is that first baby would have been fine, but second baby might have fetal anemia, and it can even result in fetal death, right? But luckily, even at Victoria Jubilee, we just did a fetal blood transfusion whilst mommy was still pregnant, and that was to fix that problem.
And success.
Yes, successful.
Okay.
Delivered a healthy baby.
It's very good. Now, nowadays, we see where more persons are making the decision to start their families at a later time in their lives.
Sure.
How can that affect couples in terms of infertility?
I take this a little personal because I was pursuing my career and I had my children in my mid-30s. And it's always a concern because you're older. You're aware that the doctors keep saying 35 and older is advanced maternal age. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that means something bad, right? It doesn't. That's the good news. If you're healthy, as in every time, you want to be as healthy as possible, which is why our new initiative as OBGYNs is to push everybody to come in for a pre-pregnancy checkup, right? Because we want to make sure you're healthy enough to be pregnant. And if there's anything that we need to fix or improve upon so that you can go through your pregnancy successfully and healthily. So what's interesting is that this advanced maternal age, I have a lot of ladies in their late 30s, 40s. My oldest patient was 45. I'm not going to say that I didn't have a heightened concern for them, and that diabetes, hypertension, heart disease is more possible. Kidney problems are more possible as you get older. But you do that even for a person who's not 35 and over. But your possibility of running into those kind of troubles increases as you get over 35. But I think women should go ahead and do what they have to do. I hear that there are loans being offered for ladies, or they're suggesting that we're to get loans to freeze our eggs if we want to, so that we can pursue our dreams. But the real big concern when you get older is the risk of Down syndrome, right? It is a genetic disease. It doesn't have to happen because the mother is older. It can happen younger women. I had 2 patients when I used to work up at UA who were under the age of 35 who had babies with Downs. And that's why we can do testing prenatally whilst you're still pregnant, or as early as 10 weeks now. That won't be harmful to you or baby, to see if baby's at risk for Downs. But the good news is that our population doesn't see the level of Downs that Canada and America and England. You think of how many women you know who are over 35 and 40. You rarely see a child with Down syndrome. So I tell patients not to worry. We still do the testing if they're going to be particularly concerned. And of course, the ultrasound at 5 months will help to identify if there's a pregnancy that is abnormal. But what's important is really to recognize that the other chronic illnesses can kick in a lot because you're older.
Dr. Carey, thank you so much for your enlightenment and your powerful message. It has truly been helpful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. This is Blueprint to Your Health, tips and tools for a healthier you. Stay tuned for the answer to your trivia. Your trivia question for the day was, how many hours do sperm survive inside the fallopian tubes? A, 6 to 12 hours. B, 12 to 20 hours. C, 24 to 48 hours. Or D, more than 40 to 60 hours. If you answered D, you're correct. When sperm are inside a woman's body, they can live for up to 5 days. If you're a man and you have sex even a few days before your partner ovulates, there's a chance she may get pregnant.